It's time for Prime Business. I'm Charles Ayitey. Tonight, the Finance Ministry has confirmed that government will officially begin negotiations with the International Monetary Fund for an economic program this Wednesday, the 6th of June. According to a release from the ministry, officials of the fund will arrive in the country on Tuesday from Washington, D.C. in the United States. And as you can see on your screen, except of the press statement issued by the Ministry of Finance. It reads in part that it's subsequent to the directive by the President of the Republic of Ghana, directing the Minister of Finance to, have negotiations with the IMF. The ministry is hereby announcing the commencement of engagement with the IMF to support Ghana's economic program. On the very third stanza, it reads that the ministry further takes the opportunity to assure Ghanaians of the government commitments to successfully recognize and negotiate a program with the IMF in the coming months in support of Ghana's economic recovery. So we shall be keeping an eye on this particular meeting, especially when it's sat down tomorrow, to give you updates as and when. But in the meantime, my colleague George Riafi has been following development on the official visit of delegates from the fund and has more in this report.
The visit by the IMF team, which is often described as mission engagement, will primarily focus on data gathering from all the relevant sectors of the economy. It will also help the team get some understanding in terms of government's own program that is pushing forward to stabilize the economy or achieve what some may describe as fiscal consolidation. The new IMF is now pushing forward a strategy where any country that requests for a program will come up with their own solutions and then they will give it a stamp of approval. This is to ensure that the expected program gets the full commitment of government and the entire population going forward. After this preliminary engagement, government is expected to put forward an official letter signed by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, on what they want from the IMF. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected to lead government delegation in these negotiations with the fund. Sources say one area that will top on the agenda during the discussions is Ghana's rising debt stock. This IMF team is expected to meet President Akufo-Addo, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, officials of the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana, the Finance Committee of Parliament, and some civil society groups before they jet back to Washington, D.C., USA.
Meanwhile, economist and senior fellow at the IFS, Dr. Said Boache, has rejected assertions by government that it would have abandoned the IMF program if it were successful with the revenue target for the e-levy. He spoke on the marketplace.
The e-levy, if they had even had the 7 billion they projected, wouldn't have saved this country. It wouldn't. The fiscal hole is bigger than the e-levy. I might be frank. Perhaps it could have helped. If they had raised, it could have helped. But the fiscal debt, the fiscal difficulties are bigger than the e-levy. You understand that? Because so much rigidity, limited revenue, e-levy. For instance, Ghana's total revenue to GDP is around 15%. Even in Africa here, it is more than 20%. Middle income countries around 22-23% on the average. E-levy couldn't have raised government revenue to GDP ratio to even getting to 18%. And not much was being done regarding expenditure. So e-levy couldn't have even saved the country if what they expected they were able to get.
My final question, does this support from the IMF really solve our problems? Is the 17th program, if we go ahead with this deal, we keep going back. So what must we do?
What we must do, I've talked about the revenue component. You want to do well, get hold of your resources. Stop the concession approach. You give your own resources and you put it in the hands of private investors. Look, if I establish a company with my own raw material, everything, the government is going to tax me. Why should the government give its own resources to people and turn around to tax them? Basically, you are giving it out. So on the revenue component, that is what the government should do, but on the expenditure in the long term.
Now, as government seeks an IMF bailout, it is emerging that the The bailout will have an immense consequence on Ghana's oil sector, which has over the past decade produced less than 200,000 barrels per day. Energy strategist Dr. Ayitey Suleiman tells Joy Business the program has the potential of shoring up investment to the upstream sector, which has been unattractive for investors due to depleted reserves.
This also coming to it at the time when we have a capital discipline of a sort, where investment into the hydrocarbon is becoming constrained for the fact that we have that parallel competition between that of hydrocarbon and renewable. So in that case, that is going to be very difficult. And so if you look at our physicals prior to this IMF bailout, our physicals and our fiscal policies and programs haven't been robust and haven't been very good. So I feel that those conditions had potential to drive away investors. And now if you are seeking IMF bailout at this point in time that we are doing, what I think will happen is that two things could happen. One thing is the fact that you could get some direct capital injection into your economy, where you can direct it, provided the conditions are very flexible for you to direct it to strategic areas that can propel your growth. Then the second aspect is the fact that investors may begin to gain some confidence into the economy because they might see that now there are kind of some checks and balances that are put in place. So in that context, once investment gains confidence to the economy, I believe it might end up propelling and then beefing up interest of the investor community into the sector that is already suffering from depleting investment.
Away from that, the Ghana Chamber of Mines have begun discussion with the Ghana Stock Exchange to get indigenous investors to inject capital into mining exploration activities. According to the Chamber, this will help boost the country's earnings from mineral resources. The chief executive of the Chamber, Suleiman Okoni, told some journalists that this is the best way to go in making Ghana a mining hub. We have more in this report.
Ghana's mining sector is dominated by foreign investors, signaling low interest by indigenous investors to direct some capital into exploration. According to the Chamber of Mines, having indigenous people invest in exploration is the way to make the country the mining hub for Africa. Chief Executive of the Chamber, Suleiman Okoni, disclosed that the Chamber is engaging the Ghana Stock Exchange to find some solutions.
Indigenous capital for exploration, business in Ghana, I think is critical. That is where it all starts from. Other countries have done it. Why can't we do the same? We're having a conversation with the Ghana Stock Exchange as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission under the aegis of Minerals Commission. Hopefully we would be able to come up with a framework that will allow you and I to put our money into our own endowments because the mineral resources belong to us. And why would we have someone pour his pension funds into our economy and we are sitting around here and we decide not to do that? Yes, there's room for FDI, but there should be room also for indigenous, investment, and that is what we are calling for. That is where it all starts from. The opportunity for value creation at the exploration stage is much bigger than most other phases of mining. So that is where the target should be. And the good thing is that I think that generally the Ghana Stock Exchange actually agrees with us.
On the concerns of security at the mining concessions, the Chamber fears the activities of illegal miners and intruders are impeding the growth of the industry.
We're getting good collaboration with governments. Governments, especially our sector ministry, is partnering with us to find a sustainable solution. He did a fantastic job by making sure that the vacuum created by the withdrawal of the military was actually addressed by making sure that we had police deployed to the mines. But we still have lots of challenges. It's not the ideal situation for us. So we continue to engage with our ministry and the security services to give us what we really deserve as an industry. So there again, there are some good recommendations that have been made and we are actually pursuing these.
The sector has started picking up in the first quarter of the year as a result of the reduction in the withholding tax for small-scale miners.
Prime Business with me, Charles Ayitey, but I'll leave you with international business news, after which we have Prime Sports with Oreko Ampofo. Do stay with us.